All right, we're live. Didn't put this up ahead of time, so nobody got the opportunity to assemble, but I still see Junkyard D slid in here. First one in, indeed. Mostly old parts and Russ Patrick. Dan E. Boyd, Ron English. Dan E. Boyd got the first like. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, I've been working on my new hydraulic press all day. Well, new to me. Most of it came out of the dumpster at Harbor Freight. It was a field find from my uncle, so we did a little trading, and I have it. Needed to make a few pieces for it, but it's together and operational now. Twisted Mopar Garage is here. Twisted Mopar, you're third of the way there. Time to make that push. Got plenty of time. Technician Troy says, what's happening, everyone? You're making it happen. Cope is in here. Cope, how'd you like the thumbnail? Got an A500. I'm going to find me another one just like that. That's one that was blown up that I cannibalized for some parts. I used all kinds of stuff out of it. I still have the overdrive unit and extension housing and all that. Still have the case. But I don't have a whole core there anymore. In fact, the drum is in the $9.99. Jackie Abbott is here. Steve Duncan. Don't think I've seen you in here before. Glad you're here. Bad Attitude C10. Good to see you. Boy, there was a guy that had a plan, signed up for the No Name 500, filmed all the cool stuff he did this spring, and just boom, he was in. He came in, did business, and now I'm assuming you're working on your truck. Buff is driving as usual. Cool. Chris 103 Customs with a Z. Hello all. Glad you're a dealer with darts. They round them up with A bodies. Cool. Check that out later. JB's here. Heavens Mopars. Cope says killer. I'm telling you, I'm going to do the A500. I think the A500 is the hot ticket. I'd love to find another deal like I found on that other one. 21 Motors, I think it was, down in just across the line in North Carolina, had it. It was untested. Truck didn't drive in, untested. $75. The only thing I saw wrong with it, taking it down, is the forward clutches. It gotten pretty hot. They'd gotten pretty hot, but other than that, everything else looked great. $75 for that core. Love to find me another one of those. A500. That's what's I'm itching to do an A500. I want to do an A500 for my Dart, A518 for the van. And of course, we'll have cope valve bodies in both. Twisted Mopar Dennis 168. Yeehaw, you're getting there, man. I'm telling you, the last 168 are going to come a whole lot easier than the first 168. Happens every time. Colleen is hanging out with a machinist and playing darts. You have a machinist like on retainer? What are you machining, Colleen, if we might ask? Pure Pontiac Garage is here. Twisted Mopar. Let's see. Ron's here. Mean Street Mopar. I kind of get a kick out of that name. Mean Street Mopar, there's time to make it. If you make a plan, buckle down and do it. Of course, even if you can't make your 500 to race and burnout competition, it still is absolutely worth coming to the No Name Nationals to come and meet everybody and have a great time. And I got to tell you, when you're not trying to keep a car tuned and get it ready between rounds and all that stuff, you have plenty of time to hang out, which is what a lot of us, that was the biggest regret I hear from everybody. So I wish I had more time to hang out. And if you go as a spectator, you're going to use all your time hanging out. And that's pretty cool, actually. Technician Troy is pulling a Ford 9-inch out of the parts chassis now. Sounds good. What's that going in, S10? Comes up Twisted Mopar Garage in my screen. Okay. Wisted. Okay. That's all bizarre. Lunar says I'm live. Yes, Lunar. Hey, let you in on a secret. I'm always live at 8 p.m. on Friday, Eastern time. It's not a secret. It's not random. Fighting the endless fight with AN fittings tonight. It can be. It can be. I had some friends that did that for a living. One of them runs a business in town here called the Hose House. And it's what he does. He makes hoses, hydraulic hoses, high pressure, does AN stuff too. And he showed me some tricks on how to get those just right every time. And it all starts with getting the end cut square and wrapped really tight so that the jacket doesn't give you a fit. If you get that part, the battle is almost over. If you don't get that part right, that's a bigger fight. First Responder Garage is here. One-eyed cat. Levi says, I have 125 days to make a ramp truck that hasn't seen the road since 2000. Okay. Sounds more roadworthy than a lot of the stuff I do. Chris will be there for burnouts. Burning out's going to happen. To participate, you have to have 500 subs, which you do. But a lot of people, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of interest in the burnout competition. There's a lot of people that plan to send them to orbit. So it's going to be exciting. Yep. Yeah, Mean Street, here's the thing. There's people that watch, I'm surprised how many people watch this on replay. Probably about 40% watch it live on a typical one, and 60%, there's more people watching on replay. So when I articulate stuff like this, and there's probably more people who listen than actually watch, and for good reason, because there's really nothing here to see unless I'm putting something up on the screen. But it surprises me that. So I try to keep that in mind when I tell people these things, when they apply to more, and when we sometimes try to paint the picture for what people aren't seeing. I try to keep that in mind as we make these lives. Truly shocking to me how many people will watch these on replay. I would never have thought. Yeah, and then One-Eyed Cat's like, he's not spectating again. Oh yeah, Ron never stopped. Ron was very busy. It's you won't lack for anything to do. That's definitely for sure. Yeah, 95 Sonoma getting a 9. Yeah, exactly. Must be getting ready to put some torque to it. Excellent. That's the right attitude. Although, Mean Street Mopar, don't you have a Diplomat? An M-body? That's what I was hoping to see. I want to see that. I think those could be some really cool hot rods. I like those. First Responder Garage is getting close to firing up a 360. Yeah, the Gates crimper. So Chris 103 Customs had a Gates crimper. That's exactly what they have here at our local hose place. So nice. I don't know what those things cost, but it's bench mounted, and he's had the same one down there probably for at least 20 some years. I don't think he's ever changed it. Super nice. So Lunar sent us something here. Let's see. Lunar Outlaw, if I may, you want me to show them what you're working on here? If a head gasket gives out and pressurizes the system, it won't water down the track. Okay. Brian Beeler says, I need to sell a Fox body oil pan and pickup tube for $50 to complete the free 302 T5 setup for the 64 Cyclone. So Brian Beeler needs to get $50 out of an oil pan and a pickup to make this free by trading. I think that's great. So if you need that, hit up Brian Beeler. If you wanted me to get you, if you want me to give him your info, let me know. Slant Daily Garage is here. How's it going, Professor P? Buff's Garage says, I got an awesome high school graduation invitation from none other than Hunter, Sam Mountain Ballistics, graduating tonight. It's funny you say that because 29 years ago tonight, I graduated. 29 years ago today. I'm glad Hunter's making it out. Once you graduate, they can't suspend you, right? Leighton Welding's here. How's it going? Yep. Mean Street Mopars can get the Diplomat ready. Excellent. Sounds great. First Responder Garage had to make a bracket. Yeah, it's things like that seem like they're too universal. So, man, make the bracket how you want it. You can get the height the way you want it and everything. Already says every day is doomsday. That's right. Yeah, I told old B&R Racing he should put that on a shirt. At B&R Racing, every day is doomsday. He should. If you're familiar with his channels and his rhetoric, then that will make sense to you. Cope says, congratulations. Well, 29 years ago, so a little late for anyone to care, including me. Yeah. Next year marks 30 years. And if my A500 is done in time for next year, for next May 19th, I may take that car on a little road trip. So if we can make that happen, I'll bring it to you guys. Professor P says tonight is my 30th anniversary for high school. Professor P's got a little age on me, even though he maintains his youthful look so well. Twisted Mopar Garage has been out of high school since 1977. Twisted Mopar Garage, I was born in 1977. Big Richard's World. One-Eyed Cat says his and Ron's 40th anniversary for high school. Ari says, I'm 30. Oh, gosh. That's just great. Mean Street Mopar is asking a question. See what you guys say. What time of day should I release my videos? What say you guys? I say pick some random time in the morning and do it the same time every day, but see what you pros in the chat think. Leighton says today is my wife's 30th birthday. Yeah. Thank you people for making me feel old. I appreciate it. Buff says I may or may not have graduated in 94. The world was a better place. Thanks for stopping by, Ari. Lunar says, pull up your analytics and see when you have the largest amount of people on. Well, that sounds completely sensible. Big Richard says, what's up, John? Well, Big Richard, we're just having a good time tonight. I will say, depending on when I'm trying to work out going down to North Carolina to go live with Andy and DV. We're working on that. Do have another guest I'm working around that. So I'm going to try by Monday to have a yay or nay on that. Then I'm going to book my other guest. I'll let you all know who it is. Good sized channel. We've all heard of him. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Should be a hoot. Big Richard, class of 94. Yep. There were 6 people in my graduating class. Me with my grandmothers. Look at that. Actually wearing a cap and gown. OMG. Had hair, though. See? Had hair then. It was brown. People on YouTube probably don't believe I ever had brown hair. Take that. Oh my gosh, Doug Narden. I'm older than you. I'm older than the guy who leaves a potato by Cope's door. Oh my goodness. Brian Beeler likes to. Well, I'm glad you stopped by, man. Yeah, Big Richard says 274. There were 6 in my graduating class. Lunar had 300. Danny Boyd had 600. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Small town and small school. Good school. I got a good education. Thumper said his hair was blonde before it turned gray. Well, I mean, I still have a reasonable amount of hair. I mean, I don't guess it matters, but whatever. It's just, I mean, old man in the shop, built not bought. I like that name. I like that. He's got a look about him that name goes with it too. It's kind of like that. You don't mess with the old man in the shop, built not bought. I kind of like that. Class of 80. Okay. You've seen a lot of change. One-Eyed Cat says 6 in your class, one-room schoolhouse is still a thing. Well, not now, but then we had 7th through 12th grade in one room. Had kindergarten in one room, 1st through 3rd in one room, 4th through 6th in one room, and 7th through 12 in one room, one big room. But it was a different time, man. The biggest problems we had were things like, people talking when they're not supposed to, or, stupid stuff like that. We didn't have all these weird problems of today. We didn't have drugs and the bullying and all that craziness. We didn't have any of that. $38 POS is almost 350 subs. Yes, I did. He made a big move. You understand? Every other day, I tally up the standings in the No Name 500, and I update my page every other day. So when they leapfrog somebody else, it shows that way on the page. I try to keep them in order of subs. And so I've been noting that progress. I believe 38 POS Racing is running number 5 right now. First responder, what you got in that picture? What do you mean what I got in that picture? What are you talking about? I could have been born in the 80s. Actually, had somebody ask me what you're 18 what? I think I said something that sounded extremely old-fashioned last week. Yeah, Thumper the Sweaty Fat Guy. The old man in the shop has a longer screen name. Yes, well, he has a lot to say. First responder garage, the transmission. That is an A500 out of about a 90 model D150. Man, that was a score, but I got it years ago, and I'd love to find another one. It was the perfect core to build to what I want to build for my Dart. I need one of those. I've decided I'm going to try to do a transmission that has it all. It's going to have the lighter weight of the 900 family, the 904 family. It's going to have overdrive, so I can run a 410 rear and have a 282 effective after the overdrive. I'm going to have lockup, the whole thing. Ron English, we were able to smoke at lunch with a forged permission slip from our stepdad. You know, I do remember, and it was before I was in high school, but I remember in middle school when Virginia law changed and made the smoking age 18 from 16. And at the public school, they had ashtrays and students could smoke. And for anybody under 40, 45, that's unimaginable, but I actually remember that. Lunar's got to get his bunch to sleep. Okay, understood. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Lunar, can I show him the picture of what you're working on? Let me know. I don't do that unless I get permission. Don says, legit permission slips were made by mother. Anything forged was in, I guess, his grandpa's name, Grampsy's name. There's nothing special, so they took him out here in 95. Yeah, well, I mean, everything is different. That's a state thing. We had smoking permit. See, that's just wild. I can't imagine that. All right, Technician Troy says we've successfully removed the 9-inch. Yeehaw, now the fun begins. Now the cleaning and stuff, disassembly, right? Yep, there's 38. We were just mentioning that you're around 350 subs. You are closing in on it. When I really start watching channels is when they cross that 400 line, because depending on the rate they're gaining subs is about when I try to schedule a live to get 500 with them live and get them over the top. So 38, your day's coming soon. You'll be here before you know it. The hometown of Joe Camel. Wow. Brian Beeler says we were allowed to walk home for lunch. Yeah, it was a different time. We could walk, and that's when kids could walk to school. You didn't have so much creepiness in the world then. Don's got the front end out of the 62 Valiant. Massive cleaning has begun. Oh, yeah, man. I can imagine. Yep, that's a ton of work. Okay. Chassis for another build. Okay, so it's already ready to put in. Well, good. That cleaning is winds up being the worst part of all of it. Ah, that was the stepdad. 47 years. Cool, man. That's great. Danny Boyd wants to know if you're going to paint while you're under there. Yeah, so Jupiter Mustang Mike. Now, when I heard this, I was on my phone because I was out of town. I was mowing. I was modding from my phone. So I wasn't able to post it in the chat. But Jupiter Mustang Mike there, he has a GoFundMe for the AHRA for Dallas. Dallas has got some things that are just, he's got some things, some family stuff that has really got him tied up and tied down at the moment, and he's focusing on that as he should. But Jupiter Mustang Mike has decided to help him out with a little GoFundMe just to help the AHRA in this little bit of time when it's not able to collect what it usually does. So if you feel compelled, certainly check it out. Jupiter Mustang Mike. If you look for AHRA GoFundMe on there, you'll see it. I'll wait until I'll probably put it up here in the chat here in just a little bit. $38 says hauling off one ugly Dodge van tomorrow. Got a 5.9 and a transmission for sale now. Cool. Yeah, GoFundMe. Yeah, right. So Brett lost his shop. I'll tell you, it's some, you say that his shop burned. I'm just now cleaning out the last bit of the mess from that little. It was a very minor shop fire. It's nothing like his, and I'm not comparing, nor would I. But I had a mild shop fire, did a little bit of damage. Yeah, more embarrassing than damage. But man, to lose your whole shop that way is rough. And I can still smell smoke on stuff from that. So can't imagine losing your whole shop that way. It's going to be really, really tough. Yeah, so I'm going to do a 518 4-speed automatic for the van and a 500 4-speed automatic for the Swinger. $38, I'm assuming that transmission is a 518. Is it not? $38's going to pass him before October gets here. He may. Let me tell you, Blue Collar Performance, Nate over there. So I saw him last year. I saw his Pinto on YouTube. I saw what he was doing. I said, man, this guy right here, I could just tell that he's special. This guy can do stuff. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to build. He's in a higher league than a guy with whatever he had, like 50 subs or whatever. I mean, this guy's going to make stuff happen. Yeah, but Blue Collar Performance, I was checking out, I was reading something there and I got a little distracted because I was trying to read it a couple of times trying to figure it out. But Blue Collar Performance, I'll see that Pinto. And I dropped him a message last year about coming to the No Name Nationals because I could see that he had something there. He was going to do stuff. And, that year came and went. And this year he jumped into it. And sure enough, what I figured would happen happened. He made some content, got a little creative, and he's sitting at close to 3,000 subs now. I think he's over 500 subs. 38, take a picture of the transmission from the underside of that thing. Send me a few pictures of it, and I'll see if I can tell you what you got there. But no, I knew that was going to take off. And I see Muscle and Cars is in here. That's Blue Collar Performance's buddy. So we're going to see some stuff out of him soon, too. He is just now registered for the No Name 500. Yeah, but 38, if you send me a few pictures, I'll see if I can tell you what you got. And then I'll also put an arrow on there that will show you where to look for numbers if you want to see them. Or where to look for different things. The pan is one way, but there's other ways too. Thumper says, get a Marine to do fire watch. Andrew Nelson's here. Got a chance to say hello. Well, glad you're here, man. All kinds of stuff going on today. I found my uncle found this press, and you wouldn't believe some of the stuff they throw away at Harbor Freight. There was a press that was missing a few parts, and he found it. He has nothing in it. It's in the dumpster. Really, they throw anything away. They throw new stuff away like you wouldn't believe over there. It's missing a few parts. I had to fabricate a few pieces, and I've got my press running now. I got about $100 in it, and I have a 20-ton press, so that'll be really nice. I mean, here's the thing, like I've gotten away all this time never having a press of my own because I've got several friends that have presses. It's just a matter of, which one's free and how far I want to go, whatever. So it's never been imperative that I have one, but at the same time, I can't be working at 2 or 3 in the morning and want to use a press. And, it's nice to have one in house. And so since it's cheap, I just did it. So the next thing I'd like to have is I'm wanting to do a big glass bead cabinet, but I want a big one. Uh, John Cope's got a nice big glass bead cabinet. You can probably do bumpers in his transmission, cases, and have all kinds of room. So I think I want to do a big cabinet, but I don't know yet. What I really like to do is put an addition on the back of the garage and put it in there. Put the compressor in there and put the glass bead cabinet in there. And then you have a room that isn't, getting that stuff on there. It's not in the room with your other stuff. I just think that makes all kinds of sense to me. You have a blast clean room like that. Yeah. See, Thumper says, I want to build a cabinet I can put a rear end housing in. Yeah, exactly. Hopes you can. His is nice. His loads from the side. But man, I don't know. The Jolly Green Giant was the last person using that because it is up so high. Like literally, it's all I can do to see down in the window of that thing. Muscle and Cars got a fresh set of wheels for the 55. Cool. Well, Muscle and Cars, Blue Collar Performance showed you what you need to do and how to attack it. He had a plan. He executed it. He did it. Blue Collar Performance just passed my channel in size. Like I said, he's probably getting close to 3,000 now. I see Barrow's Garage. There's another one last year that just took off and made it happen. Ron says, anyone have a needle scaler? No, I don't. But man, I could have used one last week. Cleaning some old steel, it would have been handy. Yeah, get a box. Well, that's what you need there. I don't know why this is up in the air like it is, but well, okay. The height I would want my blast cabinet is whatever height the cart is whatever height I want that cabinet's loading area. So it loads in the side so that I can just put the cart right up to it, slide the case in, and go to work. And then you can just reach in and drag it out right onto the cart. You think of stuff like that saves your back the more you work on stuff. Muscle and Cars collaborating with Blue Collar. Well, that's a great idea because he knows how to do it. Yeah, 6% has a needle scaler and likes it. Yeah, I've never had one, but I did have a job that would have been handy. Brian Beeler says he's going to hit 6,000 subs this weekend. Hey, if you haven't already checked him out, check it out. You remember the old car trade papers, the old classifieds and stuff? He does a video version of that, and I think it's fun. I enjoy it. I like the way he does it. So it's like you got somebody who's reading it and calling the action from the old car trade papers. That's the way I would describe Beeler's Round 'em Up. I think that the people who publish those Round 'em Ups, they should do something with Beeler. He would make their product better, I think. Does nothing special. Says needle scalers are handy. I use them to clean up cement on the lids. Yeah, of bulk tankers. Yeah, they are. Well, thank you, Jupiter Mustang Mike. I appreciate that. So, yeah, if you just to let you guys know, Jupiter Mustang Mike has initiated a GoFundMe for AHRA. This year is going to be really tough for Dallas just because he's not able to travel like he was. He's got a lot of things and family matters he needs to tend to. If you want to know more about that, he's talked about them on his last two live streams, the AHRA live streams. And this year is just going to be more challenging. So part of what's going to help offset the stress for Dallas just a little bit in that regard is that GoFundMe. So Jupiter Mustang Mike's got it. And I'll put a link to it below here right after the live. I'll share it out. So if you guys want to contribute to it, you may. Big Belly Racing wants to know if Harbor Freight has the needle scalers and does nothing special. Says they do. Now, 38 POS Racing says, while I have the trailer on, I'm bringing home my new to me 59 El Camino tomorrow. Cool. I like that. Well, thank you, Brian Beeler. I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian Beeler. And by the way, I'm not sponsored or anything by Brian Beeler, nothing like that. I just like I enjoy the fun show he puts on doing the classics, the ads and the way he reads them and comments on them, stuff like that. I find it entertaining. I like that kind of thing. I won't sit and read because I'm not actually shopping for anything, but he makes it fun. So anyway, but no sponsorship or anything. I just want to let you know that. If I didn't like it, I just wouldn't say anything. If I didn't like a person and it'd be worse, then I'd be tempted. Probably still wouldn't. Huh? One-eyed cat saying Harbor Freight the needle scaler is $99.99, but at he's saying at Home Depot it's $40. Well, that's wild. Let's see here. I am typing something. Unfinished project prefers to leave the scales on his needles. Just don't leave the needles on your scales. I think that's at least a class 4 misdemeanor. Hey, Shop 209 is in the house. Bear with me just a minute here. Unfinished Project has sent me some interesting things. He sends me a lot of interesting. Unfinished Project is an auction warrior. I see things like this. Don't know what that is. This looks pretty wild. This is an unfinished project find. Tell us what we're looking at here, man. Hot Rod Guy Garage says Harbor Freight has slowly been going up on prices. Well, I think they have to. I mean, they're certainly very fair on their pricing. Some of what they sell is total junk. Some of what they sell is a good value. Thumper says Superchargers are the devil. Okay. Thumper says his closest Home Depot is 140 miles. We actually have a Home Depot here in town now. Lowe's was here first. Home Depot came in later. Brian Beeler's saying that's the center section on an old record. Yeah, sounds about right. The unfinished product says that's the rear under a garden tractor. Oh, cool. It's not an 8 3/4. Yeah, I knew it wasn't an 8 3/4 because of the yoke. I'll tell you what I was interested to discover. 38 says they still taught carburetors when I was in trade school. When I went to trade school, they passed around an old Quadrajet and just said, pass this around in the classroom and look at it. You'll never see one of these or have to work on it. One-eyed cat saying their closest Home Depot is 40, 45 miles. My closest Home Depot is about 3 or 4 miles. No, John Cope, we do not have a Portillo's. But you know who does have a Portillo's? You do. Danny Boys likes Menards. I have never been in a Menards in my life. I've only seen one from the road. We don't have those here. Hot Rock Guy Garage is a supercharger, killed my transmission. Well, they can do that. Dougster says Aurelio's is pizza. Yes, it is. Shop in your neighbor's shed? No. I don't think my neighbors have anything in their shed worth anything, even if I was dishonest enough to steal it. 38 says if we keep pushing the top guys out, I'll keep moving up. How about keep moving yourself up? Because here's the thing. Even if all the top guys make their 500, if you don't move, it doesn't matter. But I think you're running fifth. Tony's Hot Rod Garage. I saw him in here. Junkyard D likes that place. He says he's there right now. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Barrow's Garage says no shame in cheap tools. If a $5 tool can turn 10 jobs for you, it pays for the better ones when it breaks, which is true. I actually have I just got a set of wrenches at Hazard Fraught Tools because I wanted to make a special one for holding that nut on the bottom of a carburetor float bowl on the Cub Cadet. And I needed a half, but I needed a real thin one. So I got a half there and I went over to the grinder and just did my little machining job down. There's somebody at the door ringing the doorbell. Who could it be?
Knock, knock, knock. What's up, guys?
It's Professor P.
Yeah. Hey,
Check
how you guys
that out.
doing? Yeah. We had a nice afternoon, so I figured I'd come in.
I'm glad you're here. So since Jared Rigney's on here, do you want me to show them the picture that you sent me today? Jared, let me know.
I've got some other things here, too.
Professor P.
Yeah, this right here.
Thumper said make some thin wrenches from the cheap ones. Yes, sir. Oh, look at that. For those who don't know what that is.
That is an Induction Solutions right there. Can you see that right there? That is right. That is chemical supercharging right there.
That's how you push a button and win.
Well, I'm going to try, but, we're going to give it a go. We're going to have some fun. That's the whole idea. I just want to go out there, and if I send that crank to the ground, I don't care. I've got a Gen 3 Hemi sitting there, so who cares?
Right. We got a few people. So my friend Jared here has a 360-some thousand mile Honda Civic that I helped him buy when he was a teenager, and he's been driving that thing forever now.
Okay.
And anyway, he asks me today, he says, I got well, I had to get the first picture. He says, I got a AC compressor making a ton of noise. And he says, it won't go 100 miles before it just explodes. I said, well, see what else is on that belt to get a shorter belt and all that. He looked at it and says, oh, it's on its own belt. Problem solved. Right?
Yeah.
done, right?
Perfect.
Right after he sends me that, he loses it in the rain a little bit and does this.
Oh, brutal.
Oh, oh.
That's brutal.
It's a nice little car. He and I have put an engine in it. We've put a transmission in it. Did a little patch on the floor, but it's still straight. It's been sideswiped by a truck, but you can't tell it now.
You know what?
Anyway, I thought he might help him fix that.
Has bonus points because it's got surf racks on it.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's Southern California right there.
Racks, but
That's Southern California right there, 100%. Every car has got surf racks on it.
So anyway, I told him when he wants to fix it, I'll help him. Find you a quarter panel, and we'll blend it right at that body line, and we'll use the old oak tree and to come along and straighten anything out. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it's just a driver, right? That's all it is.
Yeah.
Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, man, it'll drive great.
Mm-hmm. My uncle always used to say, "Is it going 60 miles an hour? Can you see over the hood doing 60?" He goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's a good car."
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've fixed a lot of stuff like that, and that one will be just fine.
Yeah.
But it even has this perfect body line for fixing stuff like that. If you look where it got munched, it has a body line made right there. I said, that is the perfect place to cut that thing.
Oh, yeah.
I said, and we'll just, cut a junkyard quarter panel right there, and we'll step it and blend it right on that line. You won't even know it.
I agree. Yeah. Or you could put one of those little, the little, with the little fighter guys, the Mortal Kombat. No, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Be just fine.
We'll come right down there below where that neck's down and cut it there so we're not welding up all that door seam, but bring it down to where it's less noticeable. Be just fine.
Yeah.
It'll look great.
It's awesome.
So unfinished project is he sent me a tag here. Looks like an MP435 from 1979.
Yeah?
Well, it looks like. Nice piece.
Yeah.
So Jared's going to go eat 11 pounds of vegetarian tortellini. Well, go ahead.
Wow.
I hope your plumbing's working.
Right. Because if not, it's going to stop it up.
Yeah, the Civic will live on. He's got a 360,000 mile Civic, and I got a 342,000 mile CRV. And I'll tell you, man, not having these people that make $700-800 a month car payments, I think is insane.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean, neither he nor I've ever had a car payment.
I had one for a while. My diesel truck, I bought that brand new in 2004. But I was like, you know what? When I moved out here, I could buy a new one. I could go buy a new one. And I went and looked at it. And I'm like, man, a used one is what I bought that truck for new. And I was just like, nah, I'm just going to fix it up. Yeah, I can't do it.
I would rather take a quarter of the money and have an old Dodge truck from the 70s.
Agreed. And
I could take a quarter of the money and have a really nice one.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm doing. My truck right now, I'm putting about $1,500 into it, but doing all the front suspension, steering, and everything, and it's going to be just like brand new again. It's barely got 170,000 miles on it.
Hey Ron, if we do get into that quarter panel, which I told him, I mean, we'll do it. He just needs to find me a nice rust-free quarter, and he's good at finding those cars in the yard. So I said, you find a quarter, we'll cut it off, we'll do the bumper cover, and we'll do it. The big reason I'd like to put it on YouTube is because I want all the amateur bodywork hacks to come out of the woodwork and tell me how I'm doing it wrong. That's why I want to do it.
Right. Yeah, right.
And that's what'll happen, right? Speaking of that, I got a guest who will be on this show here within the next week or two, and he knows a lot about bodywork.
Really?
Yes.
I just never do it. I just buy a car that doesn't need body work. I'm from San Diego, California. Right. So
you guys are spoiled on that.
Yeah, if it has this much rust on it, that much, pass on the car.
You've told me that before. I think that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron, I'll definitely put that up. I want people to tell me how I don't know how to do body work, so I can tell you, I already told you that. You don't have to tell me that. I already told you I don't know how to do body work. I'm just doing it anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
Jupiter Mustang Mike watched you do that job.
I'm still not done. I was waiting for the correct parts to be delivered. Let's put it that way. It's still on jack stands. It's been on jack stands for 4 weeks, and I had the parts here. So yeah, U-joints were wrong. The steering linkage was wrong. The steering stabilizer was wrong, and the control arms were wrong. So yeah.
So I don't know if you heard, I was Professor Pete before you jumped in. I was working on a press that my uncle found. It's a dumpster find from Harbor Freight.
Nice.
And it was missing the springs and a couple small parts. And the springs I wound up using were trampoline springs. So I used 8-inch Jump King trampoline springs. They were cheap. And you get 5 in a pack. And but there's like, I don't know, $12. I thought that was a good deal.
Yeah.
And that way I can take the eye bolts and draw them down to any depth I want to get the return right. And that's what I did, and it works great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love scavenging stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hello, Tony.
Oh, and Jupiter Mustang Mike, hey, thanks for making that GoFundMe for Dallas. I think that's awesome. Thank you.
Let me what I'll do, I'll pull that up, and I'll post that in the chat.
Yeah,
I wanted to give me just a minute because I couldn't do that. By the way, I heard you say that, Shane, when I was modding the chat, but I was on my phone, and I wasn't quite able to do that. But I'll do it now, and I'll share it. It's not like it's going anywhere. So I gotta find it. There we go.
I just think it's awesome that the community's helping, someone in need. I think that's awesome.
All right. Here it is. I will post the link in the stream. You guys can check it out.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Muscle and Cars, as Don said, he subscribed. That's our newest entrant into the No Name 500.
Oh, sweet. Is he up there right now? Can we go and like him?
He's Muscle and Cars is yeah. Everybody's on my page. As soon as I get the registration, I add it to my list on my phone. I print it out, put it in the book, and I put it on my page.
Okay.
But you can check it out. Check out what all of them are doing. And his buddy, Blue Collar Performance, we were talking about him earlier. He was the first person to cross the finish line of the No Name 500 this year. Oh. But he already has – he passed my channel last week. He's pushing 3,000 subs.
Nice.
And as soon as I saw the video, one of the videos he was working on, it didn't take off immediately, but I knew it was going to. He took an LS on the engine stand and decided to feed it nitromethane. I said, well, we know this is going to take off because this is just something people don't do.
Yeah, yeah.
So it did.
Really? That sounds awesome. Now, how much percentage? Because I before you say a number, I can tell you I've messed with nitromethane a lot. Once you get over 40%, 40% is kind of the tipping point. That's where you start to make real power. 50% and 40 to 50% is kind of like you can still kind of start it and still kind of do stuff on that. But once you get over that higher than 50%, you're going to need to start it on alcohol before you switch it over. So what was he on?
I was thinking he was 50-50, but we'll let him say because he's in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Blue Collar Performance, what was your nitro percentage there?
I was working with nitro on Hondas for a while. I used to make I'm not going to drop his name, but he holds a few records for naturally aspirated B series and K series Hondas. Oh, he says 50%. There you go. 50%. That's the number. And so he was probably starting it, like, actually he was probably able to start it without running it on alcohol then. You just got to be conservative on the timing for that. But yeah, if you have any, it will. If you have any leftover fuel inside there, on, say, on a hot engine, when you crank it over, it will basically go kaput. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that stuff's nasty. You that's why they turn them backwards. Is to pump in fresh air this direction, so that way if there's any nitromethane left in the cylinders, it blows it through the injector hat and puts in fresh air in there and gets it all out.
Dougster loves the K Series Honda single overhead cam forever.
Oh, I'm telling you, that is a magical engine, for real. The amount of power it can make for what it is. I mean, I love my Slant Sixes. I love all my domestic stuff, but you got to give credit where credit's due.
I love my breaker points.
Right, yeah, right. But the K Series, man, that is just, the B Series. I was there in the '90s. I used to drag race those up against those two and everything. But the K Series is just, if I were to do something that would make everyone angry, I would put a K Series in my Slant Six Dart. I would take that. That would make everybody angry,
Do you know how many people would dedicate a really small portion of their life just to telling you with regularity how much they hate that?
That would that would just make me smile, because I don't care about the subs. I do my stuff for me. I mean, this is just to document my builds and to help out the community.
I'm excited to do the quarter panel on this Honda because I can't wait for people to tell me how much I shouldn't do it because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And you have no idea how much I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to look just fine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that there is some guy with the white New Balance and his glove test who can come over there and can, I don't care.
Yeah, it's on there, right? It's holding water. It doesn't leak.
Yes.
Golden.
Yes. It will keep the stuff dry in the trunk. It will not rub the rear tire. It will do what it needs to do.
What else do you need? Yeah. Yeah, so I'm actually starting on the trophy. That I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I might do the most catastrophic explosion, or in anyone who lets go, but it's probably going to be about almost 4.5 foot tall. It's going to be heavy.
Blue collar performance. It's funny you mentioned a dwell meter. I have an old square Sears dwell meter from the early '90s in the top of my toolbox, and I use it all the time.
Yeah.
I have the old Sears box, an analog voltmeter, dwell and volts, and I like using that for some things. I like the analog better than the digital when I think I have something has a bad connection, because the digital will jump around too much, but the analog, you can see the needle bounce, and it kind of gives you a better idea. You'll usually see a loose connection quicker, in my opinion, with an analog than you will a digital meter, for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's also easier to tell when you're doing like a signal light wiring, for example, because I can flick the switch and I can see the needle moving all the way from the other end of the vehicle doing this. Mm-hmm. Whereas on a digital, if the screen doesn't change quick enough, you won't see it when you have like a sweeping voltage. So I really like an analog voltmeter for certain things.
I agree.
Oh, Thumper has an old oscilloscope. That's cool.
Oh.
Patrick's Craftsman dwell meters from the 70s. Nice. Yeah, I like analog for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Look how analog my day counter is.
It's perfect.
I had thought about doing digital for that, and I'm like, no, I like that.
You go digital, the problem is that it might not pick it up, and you would get this like sweeping across the screen. You never know.
You could adjust it depending on your frames per second, everything, where it doesn't. But the orange paper is a thing.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice.
I don't know where we'll find more of that. I remember when I was moving my office about, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, I found a few reams of that in the attic. And I saw it then and had no idea what I'd do with it. And I had it sitting in the office all these years. And now, sure enough, there's a use for it. So
Perfect. It was probably like Halloween paper. You just never
I
knew
have
you
no
got
idea.
Yeah.
It's in regular 500 sheet ream, you know, but I have several of those. So I got plenty. I have enough to probably last me many years.
Yeah, just keep recycling them, you know. One up, one down.
Blue Collar Performance likes it when I have put up the shorts with the pages fall. Yeah, I'm about due to do another one of those here pretty soon. You know, I did the one to Steve Miller Band, and then I did one to the Cars, and I don't know what I'll do the next one to. We'll see. I
Do one
predict
for
it won't be Justin Bieber.
if you're gonna do into the cars, do it for moving in stereo. All those
I
people who
did.
are
I did that one.
it was that one? Oh, okay.
Yes, I tagged you on it.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, you
Yes.
did. Yeah.
I
That's
think I
probably what I
timed
thought.
it right too.
Yes, yeah. It was about the right time at right, yes. If you're familiar with that movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what I'll do for the next. I did that one just for you, but see, I wouldn't. I never thought about doing another one of those until you said that. And I'm like, now I'll do another one sometime. I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing is when those come in other people's feeds and they don't know, they just, if you don't know, you don't know. But if you do know, you get it.
Yeah. But if you don't get it, then you might have to search around and find out why why don't I get this? Why don't
That's
I look
right.
around? You know.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
When I find something like that, I don't know what it is or why it is. I like to stop right then and look it up and understand it, so that the next time I don't have that problem.
Yeah, I agree.
There's nothing worse than having a problem again and again and again and again because you never made any time to understand it the first, the second time, the third time, the fourth time. To me, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
Jupiter Mustang Mike's been watching me since the Lunar 318 build. I'm sorry.
Right?
Oh, man. Yeah. I did a 318 build, a low dollar 318 build. I had about $700 in it the year after that, and it ran and did all it was supposed to do. So
Nice.
I decided it was worth doing another 318 build right after that 318 build. What if you never actually fix the problem and it continues to occur? Well, when I have a problem, I like to figure out why and understand it and solve it. I don't like to have problems again and again and again and again.
Even if it just fixes itself, I still try to take it back apart and try to figure out why did it fix itself.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know people who can have the same problem again, and they're like, why would you do that?
Right.
If you put a set of tires in your car and they come off, just looking like a slinky, the front end is not right on your car. Fix it.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah, Jupiter Mustang Mike. I remember Lunar running his head into that door. I was there. I heard it with my own ears.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of that, I was going through some videos the other day. I had no idea that you worked with Tony on a couple transmissions.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I had no idea that you went that far back. Sorry for bringing it up. I'm just saying that.
I'm an amateur transmission hack. I was telling Cope that I built my first transmission in trade school in 2002, and I love doing it. I like transmissions. That's just a thing, right? I like transmissions, and just something I enjoy. I'm getting ready to do one for Don English, the one-eyed cat.
Nice.
I've got his 727, and I'll soon be doing one for him. And then after that, I need to do. I'm gonna do a 518 or a 500. I've never done one of those. I've taken the overdrive unit off, but I've never been into one of those. So
Yeah. That's the hardest thing is just the overdrive unit. Everything else is about the same. Except for the valve body's a little different, same with the pump. And the shaft's got a little oil in it. But if you've done
yeah,
an A999, you'll be fine with the
yeah, yeah,
lockup.
yeah. Big Block 402 says, I've had a guy trying to either buy my 70 Cornet or trade me a 70 Chevelle for it. I've decided to pass and keep it. Okay.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I would too, but I'm a Mopar guy, so I'm biased. What do you guys think? You think it's what's a better deal, having that 70 Cornet or 70 Chevelle?
Comes down to a decision on what do you want. To me, the Cornet just sounds better. For some people, a 70 Chevelle is like king of cars. So just really what you're into.
I just like Mopars. I tell
Me
you,
too.
like I think one of the prettiest trucks ever made is a '68 Ford F100. It's a beautiful truck. But then you pop the hood and you look underneath of it and you see all that Ford and you just go, no, I'm good. I'm good. I
It's a
don't need
big,
twin I-beams and FE oiling systems or any of that crap in my life.
yeah,
This is the truth.
yeah.
Now, I know I would get hate for eternity if I did this, but I kind of think the way you have both is you put that 68 970 Ford cab and bed on a Dodge chassis, then you have all of that good
Everything,
Chrysler
yeah,
stuff,
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Eventually, on my truck, my diesel truck, I am going to take that body off of it and I'm going to put an older body on it. Eventually, one day. That's the only reason why I've
Yeah.
kept it.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
That's cool. 70 big block Chevelle is a Chevy guy's dream, but it's harder to find a deal on a 70 Cornet. 70 Cornets don't grow on trees.
No.
I still regret not going and knocking on the door. There was a 70 Cornet near a house where I used to do mortgage inspections. I should have just knocked on the door. It was some old man's Ford door. It looked good from 20 feet away. Make a
Yeah.
great sleeper.
I can't stay too long because I do have kids I got to
Yeah.
put to bed, but
Yeah, man.
I wanted to pop in for a little bit. I'll hang
Sure.
out for a little bit more, but as soon as they
Yeah.
come around the corner here, it's
Yeah.
bedtime.
Do what you need to do. I appreciate you
Yeah.
stopping in.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean,
it's good to get back on lives, and
yeah, you never know who will stop in.
yeah. And if this is a thing, I have no problem. Sometimes Friday nights, man, are just kind of drum. It was a long morning early. I get up and go to the gym in the morning. Then by the time I just don't feel like messing with cars on Friday nights.
Right. Well, I'm not messing with cars. We're just talking about all the stuff that we did during the week with cars.
Yeah. Well, I can't really talk about some of that because I work in the
Right.
secret.
Well, some of it I don't talk about either because when I discover something, I might not want to tell either. But I do anyway. You
Yeah.
can't take it with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You should seriously though. You should write your book. I'm not kidding. You should write your book because you don't want to take any of it to the grave.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. Let me get through some of these car builds. I have
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Cookie Monster to do.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be this LA, and then I've got the Gen 3 Hemi on the side that's going to go into it, and that's going to be my 850 car for drag week, drag a drive type deal, and then my road race car, and my 68 Dart, the Desert Dart. Once that one's done, and then I might start looking into something like that. Probably in a couple of years. We'll see where I'm at at that point. Just as far as the family life, as long as I can, get that family life back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well, the thing is you don't want to die and take stuff with you that you figured out that'll help somebody. I mean, once you're dead and gone, you're not in competition with anybody, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't want things to get gone. And so even though he might not know it yet, Cope is going to do a book. He might not know it, but he's going to do one.
He needs to do a book.
He does. I'm telling you. And could put all kinds of worthwhile stuff in it and it would be fun and all of that. So
And
I
you know,
think this needs to happen.
I help a lot of people out. In fact, I see one person here, Clint. Clint was just talking to me about camshafts just today,
Mhm.
and he sent me a text, and I, I don't mind giving anyone my information that I have, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll tell you exactly how I feel about it and what you should do. This is just my opinion, though. So yeah, that's what we're here for. That's why I do this. It's just it's free information. That's what I do.
That's right. And, as with everything on the internet, there's all kinds of people who are willing to give information. But what you got to figure out is look at the collective, look at who's doing what you want to do, and figure out whose compasses point the closest to north. Okay. And so when there's a collection of people whose compasses are really close to north, people like Professor P are in that group. But you'll see other people on the internet whose compasses are down here somewhere, and they don't know it. They have no idea.
Yeah. No.
They make up absurd things and anecdotal stuff, and they will give you horrible advice and think nothing about it. And so your job on the internet, all of you collectively, is look at who is really close. Like, I would like to think that both Professor P and David Vizard have northerly compasses. Okay, they might be a little off, as with everybody who's innovative and who is creative and who's forward thinking. That's natural because we're all different in our creativity, right?
Yes.
But you want to look at people whose compasses are in the same general northern direction.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear somebody who's reinventing a wheel that was solved 50 years ago, the odds are that person's compass is like somewhere else.
I see it a lot, and there's times I don't even comment. I don't even want to open up the barn door. I just look at it and just, wow.
And don't
I
give it
guess
any legitimacy.
no, and there's a lot of things about this is when they start talking about it, is just if they just took some fluid dynamics classes, just some simple
Right.
hydraulic fluid dynamic classes, they would answer their own questions and what they're doing, and they would look at themselves and go, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. You know what? You're doing it and it's working, but that doesn't mean it's fixed. It just means that
Right.
it's just compensating for what you've messed up. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're exactly right. It's like if somebody says, my head is rubbing the headliner in my car, so I cut a hole in the roof. Yes, your head is no longer rubbing the headliner. But where 99 of us would have fixed the headliner back up, you just cut a hole in the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So both of us solved the problem. But now, did you introduce another problem by doing so?
Yeah.
Did you come up with the best solution? These are the things you kind of got to look at. And that's like the internet. There's no publisher on the internet anymore, right? So you can have two people put out a video and both of them have advice and both of them have production value and both of them look cool. And one of them can be an idiot and one of them can be brilliant. And it's up to you to figure out, and the way you do it is the person who tells you how right they are and don't listen to other people, that's probably the person who's wrong. Just saying. The person who's confident in what they do and say, well, look at what other people do and look at how their cars run and come up to your own conclusion. That's usually the person who's right. Usually, just right from the get-go.
And look at what they do for a living too, and what they're trying to explain to you on the internet. Usually, two wildly different things usually means a problem. Just saying that also.
Mostly old parts and rust blocked Scotty Kilmer. Was Scotty Kilmer trolling you, Patrick? Seriously.
I don't know who that is.
Exactly. You don't need to.
Oh, okay.
But it's like I don't claim to have a lock on anything. I can tell you how I do something, what kind of results I've had, but I'll always tell you, look at how other people do things, look at how they solve problems, and you come up with your own solution. You see what works for you.
Yep.
And if my compass is in a northerly direction, you will either see that or you will not. And if it's not, tell me. But I have a lot of old junk and it all runs really good and it doesn't break down. And there's a lot of fundamentals that I follow and it works. You
I've
know,
driven a slant six at 2,700 RPM for 24 hours straight across this country, and drag raced it 5 laps. Got back in it the very next day and drove it 23 hours straight, no stopping.
well, you know what? My first engine I ever built was a 1989 Hyundai Excel engine. First engine
Yeah.
I ever built. I took two. One of them had a rod thrown through the side of the block, and one of them had a warped head. It had gotten really hot, warped the head, right? I took the best parts of both of them, and I built a really good engine with it. I put over 200,000 miles on that engine.
There you go.
That car had no overdrive, and at 70 miles an hour, it turned 4,050 RPM. And I have driven that on 6, 7, 8 hour trips at 4,050 RPM. Never knocked, never smoked, never had any problems.
Perfect.
Made its power, did what it was supposed to do. And yet, there's someone on the internet as recently as a week ago who claims that I am jealous because of his skills, and he has a rod knocking in his latest build. So, what do you do with that, right? So what I'm saying is, I'm not telling any of you guys what to believe. You look around and see who does what you want to do, and vet your sources and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, confidence is quiet. Insecurity screams, "Look at me!" Right?
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. I got to get jamming. I got to put a couple kids to bed, but it was really
Thanks
awesome.
for stopping by, Professor P. I appreciate you, man.
Anytime, man. And we're gonna get back on it here. Just
Yeah,
on our tech talks on Wednesday. We just got to give us a little space, and then we're
sure.
working through some things, and we're both working hard to get things back to normal. So, but
Cool.
thanks for having me out. I really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks
man.
again.
Yeah, let's do some kind of topical live on a Friday with Professor P sometime in the
Sounds
future
awesome.
when you want to do it. We'll put something special together for you guys because Professor P is a very smart guy who could do a lot of things. I think it'd be fun to put a special live together with you. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go put the kids to bed, and I'll jump back on into the chats because I'm gonna be
Yeah,
kind of
man.
up and down. But awesome, guys. Thanks again.
See you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Have a good night. Alrighty.
That was fun. We didn't plan that at all, by the way. Tony's Hot Rod Garage friend had an 87 Excel. Yeah, right. It I mean, it's just, there's a lot of fundamentals to it, and I try to cover all the bases, and I try to learn from really smart people, and that's what I try to do. Get a test light to see if the engine is alive. The test light is the check engine and oil pressure lights. How about that? But you have no idea how much I do not care about a check engine light. The CRV has had a check engine light on ever since 2016. The check engine light has been on in the CRV. I got it on the last couple of days of April. Check engine light has officially been on for 7 straight years. And it gets close to 30 miles of the gallon. Full-time four-wheel drive, 342,000. Doesn't smoke, runs great. My friend Thomas, I've never seen him in here. He'd be welcome to. I'm not telling tale out of school because he loves to worry about the check engine light. He worries, just incessantly about the check engine light. Oh man, I had that light come on when I was coming home from work. I've told him more than once. I said, "Look, man, cut you a piece of black electrical tape that long and just put over it. That's the best fix. Stop worrying about that stupid thing." I'd tell him, I said, "Listen, we had cars 100 years before we had check engine lights. Why are you worried about it?" I mean, I think the check engine light was the best salesman for the O2 sensor ever. Raw English. That was just a one-off thing, you know. Professor P was he just jumped. You never know. This is why you come here each week. You never know who will jump in. I do have some guests booked. Like I said, we're trying to. We were supposed to have Andy Wood, David Vizard on a week from today, last week, and then can't remember. Yeah, Andy had an obligation that postponed that. We may do that next week. I'm really hoping to. But either way, I've got another guest booked. I think you guys will really like. It's a big channel, but I think you'll get a kick out of it. I think you'll enjoy it. That's right. The one-eyed cat is busy. Got a lot to clean. If you have any undercoating to get off of that car, now is the time to do it while the front end is out of the way. Definitely the time to do it. Putty knife, propane torch, heat it just a little, comes right off. Tony's Hot Rod Garage said if someone sold a Gran Torino, he wanted dibs. Haven't talked to him since he broke that promise. I hate it when people do stuff like that, who just don't care. I can't stand that. Blue Collar Performance says, my Pinto doesn't have an oil pressure gauge. If it has no oil pressure, it'll let me know. Hey, Mike Ivan, no rush. Appreciate it. We're playing it by ear. All is good. Mike Ivan, I'm actually, I keep have this bee under my bonnet to do an A500. I just feel like doing one. And I will want a different converter for that, like about a 3500 stall lockup. But we may need to talk about that too. It will be for a street car. Thumper doesn't float, he sinks. Gotta be pretty muscular to sink. You don't need too high a percentage of body fat to float. Jupiter and Mustang Mike likes Swiss cheese. Does that mean we've hit the weird hour? Rabid Transit J is here. Good to see you, man. Tony's Hot Rod Garage says they have an obscene way of letting you know when the oil pressure goes away. I remember when I was a teenager, I learned about that plastic, that horrible plastic tubing that comes with your manual oil pressure gauge. Yeah, don't run that stuff. Learned the hard way. Going down the highway on 460, and the I just had a film of oil just start spraying back on my windshield. My oil pressure gauge went down. Oh man, what just happened? I pulled over. Still didn't see it. I didn't see it right offhand. Even looking under the hood, fired it up. It sounded okay, and then I saw it. It was the tubing had broken, that nylon tubing. And I fixed it once, thinking it was a one-off thing. And then I went to our local performance shop here, and the nice lady told me, said, run a 4AN braided brake hose. And that's exactly what I did. And I ran that from my block to the firewall, and then I ran copper all the way into the car for the gauge and never had another problem. Solved the problem. Well, copper will break too from engine vibration. I like running, the copper's fine to run to the firewall because you can snake it through a small space. That works good. But then I ran stainless braided brake hose over to the block. It's perfect because I can take it loose there, move it out of the way. Oh, that plastic tubing is a disaster. It doesn't just come loose, it breaks. It's not so much that it comes loose, it breaks off. Yeah, Clint says Sticker Mule. He's giving it a mixed review there. A lot of channels use Sticker Mule. I know that Two Hacks likes them, recommends them. I get my stickers done locally, but a lot of folks in this community use Sticker Mule. First responder uses AN with a bulkhead. You can. That was just the way I did it in the 90s. I probably wouldn't do it that way again. I'd probably just run it all AN and just that's how I do it now. And no, I don't like 90 psi of oil pressure at idle. No. There's some people who say all of it, and to me, no, for different reasons. It self-destructs. Yes, that nylon tubing is junk. It is junk. Oh man, I had a phantom problem on the van. So I had the wire that comes over from the alternator and feeds back to the battery for charging. Somebody had crimped a new lead into it from the fusible link. And of course, with crimps, they're all loose and wonky generally. And the thing had been arcing and all of that, getting hot. And it melted some of the vacuum tubing. It was just a mess. So, and then they hid it. They wrapped it all back into this loom and hid it up under the cowl. I pulled all that apart. I soldered in the lead. I replaced those sections of vacuum tubing. Put it all back in the loom and together, and everything's great now. Van's real happy now. Rapid Transit uses Schultz signs for stickers. Schultz signs did the shirts for the No Name Nationals, and they did the stickers. Schultz does good stuff. They do good work. Mom and Pop Company, they're in Iowa. They do good stuff. Ford used this vacuum tubing in the 80s, get brittle and break. It was garbage. I hated that stuff. You chase vacuum leaks on those forever. It was the worst. It was the worst. No one was thinking ahead on that stuff. The van had that all over it when I got it because 87 was the last year of a carburetor on the 318 in the van, I think. I mean, you could get them up to about 90, but I think on the B150 vans, I think 87 was the last year. And 85, 6, and 7 used the same setup. So they were all the same. 88, they went to a throttle body EFI. And when I took the doghouse off, I had vacuum leaks everywhere, no vacuum advance. It was a disaster. Unfortunately, that last version of the Carter carburetor, that mid-80s BBD, doesn't have the right vacuum port for the vacuum advance. So I just didn't run vacuum advance on it. Leave it be. And then what I'm going to do is I'm either going to put I have a couple of earlier BBDs that I'll put on it, or I've got a 600 Holly and a 318 4-barrel intake. I'll stick that on it, one or the other. And then it's not a lean burn, but I need to get rid of all of that. It has an EGR timer and all kinds of just garbage all over the place. But I got all the vacuum leaks fixed. I just don't have my vacuum advance the way I want it. I've got the distributor in a compromised position, and I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put that in, and then we'll have the right curve and everything, and it'll be happy. Clint had an 87 Honda CRX that had more vacuum lines than you could count. Yeah, they were a nightmare. The late 80s, right before they went from carburetor to fuel injection, was the worst. Dougster says 77 Big Block Thunderbird is a vacuum hose nightmare. They were getting bad, but man, the mid 80s, right before they went to EFI, was the worst of the worst. Dougster says that's going to be satisfying. Yeah, it'll clean up a lot in there. I've got a minor leak on the transmission. The valve covers leak on the van. There's just a lot of cleanup these another round. So the first round was just making it run good. I put plugs in it, fixed the vacuum leaks, did the little things, right? Got all that good. The next round is going to be either an older model carburetor or a 4-barrel curve distributor and all that. And that'll be the next round. And then the round after that is going to be probably a set of headers. And I want to put lake pipes on it. I think they look really cool on that van. So I'll have some big, long side pipes, chrome side pipes with the shields. I think they'll look just right on that thing. What I really want to get to on it is I want to do a stroker 318 and a 518 transmission, because then I'll have a better tow rig. That's the idea, but I'm going to do it in stages, and the next stage is going to be probably a little cleanup on the old 318. That's the original 318 in it. It still runs great. Sounds good, doesn't smoke, good power. I get 16 miles to the gallon on the highway with it, which for that giant van is not bad at all. Oh, yeah, coolant through the carb. That's the worst idea. I got rid of that stupid idea on the CRV. It had a coolant line that ran through the throttle body. This Honda CRV 2.4 actually has a coolant line that comes off, and it goes over top of a hose that goes into the valve cover. It's just a breather hose. A hose to change the temperature of the breather hose on the valve cover. And it has coolant going through it. Well, I got a leak on that one day, had a huge mess, and I got to looking at that thinking, is that all that does? It's a loop that goes over top of a hose. I'm like, what is this trash? I blocked that off and got rid of it. There were people on some CRV forum saying, man, you can't do that. Tell me you can't. That was probably 100,000 miles ago. Tell me you can't do that. Runs just fine. No problems. No decrease in mileage. Zero. That thing to me was a should never have been on there thing. And then I just ran a one-piece hose for the breather. All kinds of stuff could come off that CRV. In fact, that CRV, it doesn't have as many vacuum hoses because it's later and it's port fuel injected, but it's one of those things that can probably get a lot more cleanup on it. My 89 Excel, you wouldn't believe how much I cleaned that engine bay up. Oh my gosh. The only thing I could do to clean it up any more than it already is would be to do like a 2300 Holly or something. And I have an extra intake for it. Thought about doing just welding on that plate and putting a like a 2300 Holly. Because if I did that, then I could get rid of the remaining unnecessary garbage. Thumper had a guy tell him it was illegal to run E85 in his muscle cars because they aren't flex fuel. Yeah, there you go. There's all kinds of people who love to give advice and have absolutely no conscience for how bad their advice is. Some of those coolant lines keep the throttle plate from freezing. Yeah, this one particular coolant line, though, it went over the breather hose for the valve cover. To me, all it was a place to have several more opportunities to leak. I got rid of that. See, one thing about all these systems that people don't understand is, okay, you got all this vacuum hose that runs to this switch and that switch and all of that, and maybe the switch has a function, but look how many more places you have to have a vacuum leak. Sometimes you can clean up the routing and have less opportunity for leaks, fewer places for it to leak, and have a better system and keep the part. 38 POS Racing says, I try to say this is how I do it, not how you should. Well, hey, I mean, yeah. That's the great thing about YouTube is we can just see how other people do stuff and decide, is that what we want to do? Do we think this is a good idea? Do we not? I've seen a lot of great things on YouTube, and I've watched people clean stuff and find ways of welding things and all that. I thought, well, that's really ingenious. I love the results they got. I think sharing that kind of thing helps move things forward. And yes, we do have to figure out there are people who just, make a mess, but hey, maybe at least they're trying something, right? That's just the way it works. But I'll tell you, before the internet, we used to see people do things in our hometown, and we might have our hometown sorcerer, right? Who had some really horrible way of doing things. And it might be the only way we ever knew, right? Because, we saw that 70-year-old guy in the 80s who had some kind of crazy blowtorch and dynamite way he fixed stuff. And it might be the only way we knew. But, now we can kind of look back and kind of vet things. And the internet is a fountain of information. The thing is, though, it's up to us to filter it. Dizzy says, yep, I'm still learning. I want to learn every day for the rest of my life. To me, every day is an opportunity to learn. Danny Boyd says some of the factory brackets are dipped in paint. Yes, they are. And that paint comes right off. First responder hates vacuum HVAC switches. I really don't like vacuum switches because of the reliability factor. Let's see, I'm missing something here. Well, there's two parts to this first responder. So 38 POS Racing will say, this is how I do it. Maybe not how you should, but it doesn't build confidence in the student-teacher relation. But here's the thing. If he's posting what he does on YouTube, is he necessarily the teacher that student is contracted with? Some people think they're teachers when they aren't necessarily. Do what you want to do, give the disclaimer, and let people make up their own minds what they want to do. Rob's Rods and Streetcars is here. Mr. 500. Rob's got his 500. It's a long haul, but he's got it. Mike Ivan had a 98 GM 3800. The EGR went between two coolant passages in a plastic plenum. The exhaust gases burned through them twice and hydrolocked the engine. What an absolute mess. That kind of garbage right there is the stuff that I can't stand. I like to fix it once and get it over with. And I think we all know what fixes it once. I had an old aluminum base. I think it was a base to a circular saw of all things. It was real thick, but it was aluminum. And that thing's got all these goofy shaped holes cut out of it because it's made block off plates for years. Danny Boyd says camping in the driveway ? Okay. Dizzy Izzy used an old harmonic balancer to remove U-joints, put it underneath the drive shaft through the center hole. Okay. Sounds cool. We're using it basically for a plate to use to drift something. "38 POS Racing has me on video mentioning something." Okay. Yeah, I like the using the bench vise for doing U-joints. It's just like the ideal size of press. Works just right. I actually did a front wheel drive wheel bearing in a bench vise one time instead of a press. Boy, that was interesting. That was interesting. Really had to get that vise tight, but I got it. Used the old races to press the new races. It worked. Colleen is driving home. 10 minutes and I'll be home. Well, 19 minutes, I'll be out. Got to be careful with bearings, right? Well, I don't usually press bearings if I can help it. Like for axle bearings, I'll put the bearing on a kerosene heater for about 30 seconds and then grab it with a welding glove and on. And that usually just gets it all the way on. And then if it still needs a little more press, I can press the rest away. But even then, you've got 2/3 of the way on, so you're guaranteed a good straight start because it's already on there. But usually, you don't want to get crazy with it, but about 30 seconds on that heater is all it takes. And you can get that thing all the way on by hand. I do not hit bearings with a sledge. A lot of people do it. I just choose not to. First responders done the ball joints for the ball joint clamp for U-joints. Oh, yeah, you can do that. You can do that, yeah. If you have the right size sockets. I can't remember which size socket off the top of my head, but that was always the way. There's always that one 12-point socket that's just the right size. So my buddy Ben, he loves the arbor press. He's all about that. He has this giant arbor press in his shop. And, whatever. The starter and alternator shop in Roanoke, Dominion, that did the alternator on the van, they use an arbor press for their bearings. Not a thing in the world wrong with that. I have always liked the hydraulic press. I've used the electric hydraulic ones, but they just scare me because I just know that just the touch of a button and you can turn anything you're working on into scrap metal. It just scares me. Rob's Rosin Streetcar is talking about a bearing tamer and a press. He used to go to school with a guy named Mac. His favorite tool, he owned one, was called the hub tamer. And it had this assortment of stuff that you needed for pressing out bearings on front wheel drive hubs on the car, right? So it would have like as best I remember, it was like a puller with a screw, and everything as you use the impact. And you could get your bearings out without taking the hub off the car, take the ball joints, tie rod ends off, take the hub over to the press, which is how you traditionally do it. Well, he had this idea, and I never did see it. I never saw a drawing of it or anything. I think we were all afraid to even ask. But he insisted that he had a ratcheting line wrench idea. I said, well, build one. Go get it patented. Mac, if you're out there and somebody can get this to you and you have your drawing for it or you ever built a prototype, you can come on this live and show everybody. I have always, to this day, wondered about the ratcheting line wrench. Or what the real value of it is, actually, because once it's broken free, just get a regular wrench on it. Oh, yeah. First responder knew a guy that would ruin all those because he didn't know you had to heat them with a torch to get that nylon injected plastic out of there to get the plastic locks. Yeah. Yep. It doesn't take much. Man, it doesn't take much heat at all. That stuff just turns to putty and off they come. Dizzy never had a shop, always worked outside. Yep, Andy Wood, I always mention him because Unity Motorsports garage doesn't have a garage. He works in the driveway. Built Casper in the driveway. I prefer working in the driveway. Actually, I've got a concrete pad that's out back, and that's where I like working, actually. It's very nice. Rob likes to blow those cups across. Yeah, I'll tell you something else that I didn't realize till I did it was if you put heat to a ball joint, you can get a surprising amount of pressure to build up behind the boot of a ball joint. And when it pops, it pops. It's loud. So Patrick had access to a 150-ton electric hydraulic press at work. He could thin an 8 3/4 axle flange with it. Oh gosh, yeah. I just using that kind of press scares me. I have worked with presses like that, and I see guys just throw stuff on, throw stuff on the bed, hit the button. I mean, when you have something like that that has that much pressure, I mean, you could just be bending an output shaft like a pretzel with the same button that puts a bearing on and have no feel for it or anything. That just scares me. I don't care for stuff like it. If my 20-ton press won't do it, it's probably something seriously wrong. Yeah, Dizzy did a concrete pad. I'll tell you, I think the concrete pad, yeah, it's not under roof, but I like having all that natural daylight. I just really like it. First responder, what are you saying? So everybody has to make some shady apparatus to do a job because you didn't have the right tool? What does that mean? Well, I mean, we've all made different stuff. Some of my favorite tools that I have are things that I've made or specialty stuff that's ancient. I mean, I love purpose-built tools, homemade tools. I've got wrenches out there that are bent into a 90 just to clear things. It's great because if you ever have to do that job again, you got exactly the tool you need. I have a wrench just for taking the fuel bowl off of these carburetors that have that little electric check valve in the bottom of the fuel bowl that all this modern stuff has, and I have the wrench for it. You cannot get a regular width wrench in there, so I have it. I have a wrench that's made just for doing the crank bolt on these front wheel drives. It's just the right amount of offset so I can get in there on the crank bolt, then use a starter to break the bolt free. I've got a bar that has different sets of holes and different things that are cut out in it, so that like I have a tool made just for holding. It's made just for holding the rear end of pinion gear still, so you can take the nut off and on that yoke. And it's also on the other end. It's got a couple sets of holes to put the studs through to hold a front wheel drive hub. You can break that bolt free. Because I'll tell you, on these little tiny cars, you can put a breaker bolt, you can put a breaker bar on there and do a deadlift with the end of a handle, and it'll just spin the wheel. And then I personally don't like to use impact on those. I know they're like 30 and 36 millimeter. Why not use impact? Why don't I like putting all that just hammering stress all the way through the CV axle into the transmission? I prefer to break that free by hand. But to break it free by hand, you have to have something to hold it if the vehicle's light. Now, I wouldn't do that on, something that weighs 5,000 pounds, but on these little lightweight cars, yeah, there's nothing to hold, even the weight of the car and the tire wheel. So, the homemade tools have their value. Somebody has to invent it first. Yeah, but it's not necessarily inventing anything. It's just, you need a tool and you make it. Yeah, the perfect wrench to tighten the distributor. Exactly. And somebody had to be the first to make those wrenches shaped like this. Although that said, there's only one or two applications where I even find any utility in those. because most everything that I need a distributor wrench for is something considerably less complicated than that. Really, the only thing I would want to have is a pretty good offset, like about an inch of offset on a closed end. That would be it. That thing, it's got the handle that comes up like that. I just generally don't use those for anything. I mean, seriously, what kind of trash can sized distributor cap do you have to need that to clear it? Dougster cut a 9/16 shallow socket to fit the torque converter bolts. Okay, so on your torque converter bolts, I, I can't remember what he used. So on Cope Racing Transmission channel, there's a video on this. I can't remember if he did it with a wrench or a socket or whatever, but your torque converter bolts have a thin head. They're designed to have a stretch to them to help hold them on. Okay. The flywheel has the same thing. Flex plate is the same thing. If you notice, they have a real shallow head. They're made that way for a reason. It's so that they'll get that deformation and get that stretch to hold them in place. Well, that's fine, but to get them tight enough or break them free without rounding them, you need to either take the bevel off of a socket or a wrench or something. And you can do it pretty easy. Just put it on a belt sander and you'll have a wrench that just gets real flat on one side and gets rid of, yeah, cut the taper on the wrench or the socket. Exactly. But you need to get rid of that because that taper is probably a third of the thickness of the head of that bolt. So it makes a big difference. So yeah, have a wrench just for that. I have one in the toolbox that's just for doing flex plate bolts. Yard sales are great for tools to modify. I don't know, Big Billy. Yard sales are where you find your old stuff, your old Craftsman and SK and stuff. I like those tools, Blackhawk, but the stuff I modify is just the Harbor Freight stuff. But yeah, you can still find all kinds of stuff. Like I remember when you could just find buckets of tools at flea markets. It was a good deal. Colleen made her own Chrysler steering wheel puller. Yeah, socket nut washer. Right. I've got some pullers I've made. In fact, the puller that I use for the pump on Chrysler transmissions, instead of using a slide hammer to take it out, I got a 1-inch box tube and 2 pieces of all thread. I just drop it in there when they have nuts on them, and I just spin the wrench, pump comes out. Garage sales, estate sales. Yeah, auctions are a little harder. Auctions have gotten stupid now with prices. I think it's kind of harder there. Auctions used to be. Flea markets used to be really good too, but flea markets in general are kind of going by the wayside. Punisher Le Mans is a whole drawer full of homemade tools. Right on. Jupiter Mustang Mike hit his brother in the head with a hammer when we were little. Ouch. Did you get a receipt for that? Yeah, Thumper. I've got a lot of Pontiac going on in the chat right now. Mike tried to hide the bump. Well, yeah, I can understand that. One thing I'll plug real quick while Mike is in here, and others. So Jupiter Mustang Mike, he made a GoFundMe page for AHRA. If you want to help try to offset some of the cost, Dallas is not in a position right now to be doing quite as much for the AHRA as he was last year. He's got some family matters he's tending to, and so Jupiter Mustang Mike has got a GoFundMe for that. If you want to check it out, if you want to donate, I've got the link in the chat. You can check it out. I'm sure they would appreciate it. First Responder says auctions are stupid now and TV made. Yeah, I'm telling you. Like shows like American Pickers and all that stuff, and Pawn Stars and all of that. Yeah. Blue Collar Performance hit himself in the head with a sock full of rocks when he was a kid. Okay. No words. JB would take 1/4-inch plate steel and make wrenches. I'll tell you what, now that's some next level stuff. JB, there was something I needed to sharpen, and I was going to ask you how to do it. When I think of it, I'll holler at you. But I was using something. Oh, I know what it was. JB, I got these ancient hedge trimmers. These ancient Sears hedge trimmers. And the motor works. I like them. They run good. They just probably need sharpening. I'm not even sure how you would sharpen them. I should send you a picture. Lars is in the chat, says bring the thunder. Indeed. Tony says T-5. Hey, T-4 in 10 seconds. JB said a file works good for those. Okay. How do you file them? Oh, across the top? Because the blade is at like an A-shaped angle on top of this plate that it runs back and forth against. Yeah, we say auctions and look who shows up. Unfinished project. Unfinished project is an auction warrior. There's Indirect Connection saying hello, people. Foul the whole face. Well, you want a flat surface, right? Actually, I've got a piece of granite countertop now to use for surfacing. So that might be a good way to do it. First responder said, who's next for live? I don't know. So it looks like Dizzy Izzy's got something for sale, 64 Ranchero and a 64 four-door title. Title, good body glass, $1,500 for both. Well, cool. That sounds like something somebody should check out. JB says the steel trimmers have to be taken apart and ground. Yeah, I can see that. I tell you what, being able to sharpen stuff properly is a big deal. Okay. Okay, so Tony, I didn't know if Tony was going to be live. I didn't see anything out ahead of time. But yeah, so it looks like Tony's Hot Rod Garage is going to be live. He'll be live here in a couple minutes, and we'll hand off to him. So, yeah, he'll be live here in about 2 minutes. So, yep, I see that, Dougster. I just got sent that. I wasn't sure. I hadn't seen it ahead of time. Thumper says, I might be able to turn the heat off tomorrow. Yikes, man, you live where it's cold. Yeah, there's Tony. He's going to get his live ready. Yeah, so what we'll do is see you, Tony. We're going to hand off to you here in a minute. Yeah, you know what? Let me do that. I'm going to grab the link for Tony here. I'm going to get the link. I'll put it in the chat. Then we'll shut down and we'll go over there. So bear with me while I get the link. There we go. Ooh, that's weird. So I go to YouTube and I see my own live on the feed. That's weird. All right. Here we go. Here's Tony's live right here. I'm going to put the link up right now. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and shut down. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank the mods. I've got a really cool guest coming on. The topic, I'm sure, will be about bodywork and trolls and lots of fun stuff like that. And so that's coming up here real soon. And we're still working on getting DV and Tony, or DV and Andy Wood together, and so we're still going to do that one. We're just working on it. So I'll let you guys know once those get committed on the other end. I'll put up the links for that. But anyway, that's it for us tonight. We'll see you guys next week.